All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you guys are tuning into this podcast. I am your host, international award winning author, filmmaker, and empowerment specialist, Toneal M. Jackson. And I want to welcome you all to another episode of Get Educated and Empowered with Toneal. And we know on Thursdays, we typically talk about things from a professional development perspective. And so that's what we're talking about today. Hey, Josh. So you all know by now, I hope you do, our rules of protocol. Feel free to oblige. Number one, be sure that you say hello so that way I can speak back. Number two, like and share the video. If you are watching the video, like and share it. And then number three, be sure to tag somebody that you believe would benefit from the podcast. And so, what are we talking about today? We are talking about the pros and cons of Chat GPT. Okay. And so if you know somebody that likes Chat GPT, if you know somebody who is looking to get more information about Chat GPT, whether or not they should use it, if you are a person who is totally for it or totally against it, any and all any and all of those are the people who would benefit from today's podcast. And so, before I even get even further, I do want to encourage you guys, if you're not already doing so, please follow me across social media. You can find and follow me at Educated and Empowered, the number two. I have other accounts too, but since we're from Educated and Empowered right now, that's what we're going to talk about. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and even Noon Vibe, you can find and follow me at Educated and Empowered, the number two. Okay, so we're not going to prolong it. We already kind of know how I do things at this point. I want to jump in, set the tone, set the stage, explain what brought us here, and then we explain what it is we mean and we allow for interaction. So feel free to ask your questions. Those of you who are watching, feel free to put your questions in the comments. For Noon Vibe, you can either inbox me your questions or even come to the microphone. So again, today we are talking about the pros and cons of Chat GPT. Okay, so for those of you, if you are not a person that is like online a lot, if you are not on social media a lot, maybe you don't know what Chat GPT is, maybe you have not heard of Chat GPT. So I want to make sure that I take a moment because again, I never try to assume that everybody that I'm talking to knows everything already. Hey, Lydia. So I want to just kind of catch you guys up. So, what does the GPT stand for in Chat GPT? Great question. Glad you asked. So, it stands for Generative Pre Trained Transformer. Generative Pre Trained Transformer. Okay. So, that is a fancy way of basically saying this is an artificial intelligence tool. Somebody created this software. Okay, so the purpose, it serves many purposes. There are different things that it's supposed to do, but overall what it will do is it analyzes the prompts, and it will predict a response based upon whatever it is that it's been trained to do, right? So I've been on Facebook all day, off and on, talking to people about how they use Chat GPT, why they use Chat GPT, if they find it to be beneficial or if it's more of a drawback. So we've kind of had this pre-conversation, if you will, to the whole Chat GPT concepts. And on Noon Vibe, the tags I use leadership and culture because what I have found is that people are using Chat GPT more than just for business, right? So, hey, Miriam, people are using Chat GPT across the board. Again, at least according to my studies, it is not just for business that people are using it for. But again, we're going to jump into, is that a good or a bad thing? We're going to talk about the pros and cons of Chat GPT. But again, for those of you who may have never heard of Chat GPT, or maybe you've heard of it, but you have never used Chat GPT, the GPT stands for Generative Pre trained transformer. So again, understand that means that somebody, some person had to create this curriculum, had to create this software, however you want to use it, look at it, describe it. A person, a human, created this tool for the purposes of helping people do a variety of things. And again, what it does is it analyzes various prompts. So for those of you who have used it, again, it is an app. So if you have a smartphone, you can go to your app store, you can download ChatGPT, and you can put in a myriad of things, right? So you can say, hey, write me a 3 minute script for, I don't know, insert the name of a play. Write me a review based upon, insert the name of a movie. So no matter what it is, and it doesn't just have to be written, you can ask them, hey, based upon the things that I like to do, what is the best job that I should have? Or if I wanted to make $100,000 by next year, based upon my educational background and things that I do, what are some things that you would suggest? So pretty much any type of prompt that you can come up with, you can insert it into Chat GPT, and it is purposed to be able to provide an answer or predict a response based on how it has been trained. Okay. So again, based on the way that it has been set, that is the way that it works. All right. So again, it is able, some of the things that Chat GPT does is it creates human-like text, images, and music. It answers questions in a conversational tone. It generates content, and there's so many other things, but those are just some of the things that it does. And so, hopefully, now those of you who are watching and or listening, now you're understanding where it is that I'm coming from. I'll set the tone for in terms of understanding what Chat GPT is. Now I'm going to give you really the premise of this show and how it all came to be. So just generically speaking, again, on Thursdays we talk about things that have to do with professional development. And so Chat GPT is one of the latest tools, one of, some would say, the hottest tools, some would say one of the greatest tools to help people in business. And I had an encounter with it. And so I just want to bring it to the table. Hey, Jamie, I want to bring it to the table for discussion because, again, many of you know I love dialogue. Okay. Like, we don't always have to agree. But one of the best parts of dialogue is being able to hear everybody's perspective, right? Like, I believe there is an art to dialogue. Many times people just want to say what they want to say and they don't even take the time to listen to other people, or they are only, involved in the conversation just to be able to say their point. So it's like another person is talking, but they're not necessarily listening to what the person is saying. They're just waiting for their time to respond. I'm sure many of us have engaged with people that interact that way, right? Me, I like to, because I am a student of life. I've always described myself as being that way. I'm a student of life. I am interested in hearing what others have to say. Again, whether or not I agree or disagree, the Bible says, hear all things, but then you cleave to that which is good, right? So, in order for me to know what's good, I have to know what's bad. In order for me to know whether something works or doesn't work, like, you have to be able to be open. And so, in either case, here's the point. Let's lay the foundation. I was on TikTok. I was on TikTok. And if anybody has spent any time at all on TikTok before, what you know, what you soon learn is that the general thought or the premise for being on TikTok is to make money. Whether this is the case or not, I'm telling you what you soon learn. So many of the videos that pops up on your timeline, or they're what they call your FYP, your For You page. So many things that pop up are people talking about how to become a TikTok shop affiliate. Okay. And so they go through all these different videos explaining to you what it is that you need to do. What are the prerequisites? So again, I'm trying to explain to you guys how it is that we came up on today's topic. So I've been, I'm looking, I'm watching videos, different things, whatever. So I stumble upon this one creator, and so let's say this, multiple creators tell you the same tips, right? So if you're trying to become a TikTok shop affiliate, you want to hurry up and try to get, X amount of followers. You want to make sure that you are consistent in your posting. So make sure that you're doing like 3 to 5 videos every day. So it's like a lot of different suggestions or tips that are given, right? Now, this one particular influencer, hey Jesse, this one particular influencer, he goes on to say how he goes to talk about how much money he makes every day with TikTok. He explains, he gives all of his tips and what he does, and amongst those tips is saying, "Hey, listen, you don't even have to think." Like literally, I don't know that I'm paraphrasing. This is pretty much what he's saying. You don't have to think. He talks about this AI tool that he has, and the tool itself isn't really necessary. He even explains that the tool itself isn't necessary. um, he explains that he uses the tool because it makes what he does more convenient, but you can do whatever it is that you do. But here's the concept. So what he does is he takes an hour a day, and again, I'm sharing free game because this was shared with me. So he says he takes an hour a day at the top of the day, and he creates 3 videos, and he's like, who needs to think? You don't have to think. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to, all you need to do is go to ChatGPT, and he encourages you the way to get your followship, if you will, the way to get it up, the way to get TikTok to like you, for the algorithm to work in your favor, is to be consistent with your content. So have a particular niche, right? And he's like, so for those of you who don't have a niche, then what I would encourage you to do is to get a niche and allow your niche to be reviews. And he's saying the reason for doing the reviews is because it pretty much killed 2 birds with one stone. So even though you're first coming on and you may not have any followers, if you are consistent with posting your content 3 times a day, 7 days a week, then by the end of 30 days, TikTok and the algorithm will recognize the fact that you are a consistent poster. And so, you will gain immediate access to being a TikTok shop affiliate. So again, that's free game for anybody who's actually interested in doing that. Okay. So he goes on even more to literally drop the tips. So again, going back, he says what he does to create his content is he uses Chat GPT. And so basically, he is a review channel, and he's like, you can literally review anything that you have close to you. If you have a calendar, if you have a Game Boy, is Game Boys even a thing? I'm sorry, what is it now? Nintendo Switch. If you have, a new outfit, if you have some shoes, if you have a book, if you have some candy, like literally anything that you have access to, you can review it. Okay. And he goes further on to say, instead of trying to think of something to say, just ask ChatGPT, hey, write me a 1 minute review on insert the name of the product. Okay. ChatGPT will then generate you this review. You read it exactly verbatim from the screen. You do that 3 times over for each of your products. And then what you will do is you post that, but you spread out the frequency with which you post your videos throughout the day. So it sounded pretty genius, right? Like if you're trying to hardly work as opposed to work hard, it sounds great. And I'm not saying that it does not work. In fact, I'm saying the exact opposite. I said, you know what? Well, I'd never used Chat GPT before, but just being on social media the way that I am, of course, I've seen it on my Facebook timelines before. I'd seen it, on LinkedIn a few times. I'd seen it on IG a few times. So I said, well, let me see what it's like, right? Because to know me is to know, again, the same thing I said about dialogue. Most things, not all things, but most things I will at least try before creating an opinion about it, right? Like I ain't gotta try everything to know that it ain't for me. But certain things, especially things to do with technology, if I'm considering myself a public figure, if I'm going to be on social media, if I'm going to be teaching people in a capacity, then in order for me to educate and empower, I must first educate and empower, right? So before I can educate and empower others, I must first educate and empower myself. And so the point that I'm making is I said, okay, so let me look into this whole ChatGPT situation. So I mean, and it worked just as simple as he said. I just watched this movie, which this is a whole nother show for another day. Those of you who have watched the movie Rob Peace, I oh my God, it was so great. But anyway, I digress, and we'll come back to that later. So I said one of the things that I would probably review is this movie, right? So I started thinking to myself, I said, well, what if ChatGPT hasn't heard of the movie Raw Piece? Like, how can you generate a review for something that you haven't read or that you don't haven't seen or that you don't have any personal interactions? But I digress because I put in the exact words, write me a 1 minute review for the movie Raw Piece, and boom, on command, ChatGPT did what? It generated me a 1 minute interview. Now, here was the problem, at least from my purview, okay? Other people might have found that to be absolutely amazing, beautiful, all of that. But let's I'm sitting up. For those on Noon Vibe, y'all can't even see me transitioning. Um, let's suffice it to say, for those again, if you don't know who I am an author. I am heavily in the literary world, okay, for over a decade. Editor, publisher, so a whole lot of stuff with words. I am a creative, okay, so not just an author, a filmmaker. Like everything with me that has been created has all started with a thought, has all started with a concept. So here was the problem I immediately found with ChatGPT, which is why I did not release the review, because this was the first thought I had. Okay, so if I went to Chat GPT and if I said, write me a 1 minute review of the movie Rod Piece, and this is what they generated, what's to stop, Jack, Jill, Joe, Susie, Peter, Paul, and Mary, what's to stop them from going to Chat GPT, saying the exact same, asking for the exact same prompt and then receiving the exact same feedback, right? And here was just something I was thinking in my head. But now bookmark that thought, because remember how I said like all day I've been on Facebook talking to people about what their perceived pros and cons with Chat GPT or what they find to be beneficial about it, whatever. So one of the responders actually said the same thing. She said, well, here's the thing that I have found. She said, like, you can tell when somebody is using it because the words are literally verbatim. She said she was watching something on YouTube and there were three different products, but they all had the exact same script, word for word. Now, see, in the literary world for which from which I reside, that's problematic. We call that plagiarism, right? Like if I write something and then you come and you write something that I just wrote, right? You didn't put any thought to it. What you did was access my mind, and most of the time it's without my permission, because it's one thing to write something and you cite the source, right? According to such and such and such and such, or blah, blah, blah once said. So you're citing the source. You're giving credit to the person who had the original thought, right? So what we don't do in the literary world, and I know y'all think, hey, but you're not in the literary world. But again, my point is point of reference. The reason why somebody like me, who has taught clients, who have taught even my children, We don't copy nobody else's work. We don't, like God gave us all minds for a reason. So all of our minds don't think the same. We might all be on the same wavelength, but the way that it's going to generate itself is always going to be unique to the person that's creating or delivering the idea. So the problem, and I know I say pros and cons, but I kind of already told y'all what it is that ChatGPT does. So this is just some things to make it go, to the back end. So the problem that I, as a creative, find with ChatGPT, I find it, I find it to be extremely problematic that 20,000 people are generating the exact same content and nobody is being called on it. Like, so are we now just getting rid of originality? Like, because here's the problem with our society. Once something catches on and everybody starts doing it, then they're going to try to normalize everybody doing it. So now gone are the days of originality. Nobody has to think for themselves. Everybody is literally having the exact same thought. We're having the exact same responses. We're having the exact same conversations because I don't think for myself anymore. I just go and say, hey, ChatGPT, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And then we regurgitate that. So again, I understand that that is not the end all be all. I'm simply sharing what I believe to be a huge con to using Chat GPT. Okay. So to me, my word of warning for anybody using Chat GPT. Again, am I saying not to use it at all? Absolutely not. If this is just for personal consumption, right? So if you just want to, you're just journaling some things, or because some of the people, because again, this was a lot of different people that responded, and one of the ladies said, well, I use it to help me with writing prompts, right? So maybe she got stuck, there's a brain freeze, I need a writing prompt, and this just kind of helps me to go. So that means that her and the person next to them can both, because writing prompts is something that we had in school, right? So a teacher could say, hey, write a 1-page essay on what it's like to live in America. That's a writing prompt. Everybody's response is going to be different based upon whatever their experiences are. So is it bad to use it so that it can spark an idea? Or maybe you got a little brain freeze, you got a little bit stuck. I don't think so. Is it wrong if if you're using it to try to gain more knowledge, right? So, like I gave you the example, if somebody said, "Hey, give me some ideas for things I need to do to fill in a blank." Okay, this is something that I'm using for personal consumption. This is something that I am personally using to help to better myself. Have absolutely no problems with that. A lot of different people commented on this post that I had about the ease of use, the fact that it saved a lot of time, right? Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a firm believer in working smart and not working hard. And so if there are ways that you can use this software that can help you in your business to be a time saver. Some people talked about the fact that they can use it as an assistant. So again, if this tool can help you in your professional development work life, where it's taking off tasks and it allows you, because especially for my entrepreneurs out there, when we are entrepreneurs, most of the time, many of us are teams of one, right? So entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever. A lot of people don't just have a team of 3, 5, 7 people. Like you might outsource, you might hire a virtual assistant, but just at large as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of different things, that a lot of different tasks that you have. So I am all for using things that will help to make your job easier. So like if you have something that you can automate, right? Because maybe you're going to be busy, you don't have 7 days a week to post every single day. So if there's a way that you can automate what you're going to do, that's convenient. It's not cheating. It is your work, your mind, your brain, whatever. You're just figuring out how to work smart and not hard. I have no, from an ethical standpoint, I don't find there being anything wrong with using Chat GPT or any other softwares like it to help ease the process, to make it easier, quicker, more efficient. My problem comes in when we are looking at eliminating creativity, when we are looking at eliminating originality, and because now we're basically pushing people to, you don't have to think for yourself, just ask chat gpt, ask them what they think, ask them, and once it becomes a thing, and again, we know, even with the world and the society we live in, just because some people bite the apple does not mean that everybody will. But we already see how different trends go. I've done the shows where you had people setting themselves on fire. I mean, come, we, one person doing it, like, it's setting yourself on fire used to be thought of as something that was a traumatic accident, not something that with both eyes open you just go and do because you want to be accepted and you want to go viral. So the point that I'm making is, in a society, in a world that's really leaning more so toward just being accepted, want to be like everybody else, want to think like everybody else, want to do like everybody else, you really have to be careful with using tools like this. Because to me, again, I understand the whole concept of the tool ain't bad, is what you do with the tool, or it's who uses the tool. I get all of that. But I am saying you got to be careful, because you have a lot of people who just want the quick way, and a lot of people are going to say, hey, if I don't have to think, then I just won't, or I don't care how many other people are doing fill in the blank, I'll do it too. For me, that's where we really have to be very careful and very cautious, so that everybody isn't walking around with one mind. One of the things that's beautiful to me, anyway, about humanity, not saying that everybody thinks the right things all the time, but it takes different strokes for different folks, right? Everybody, you go in a restaurant, the reason why you got different flavor beverages, because everybody don't like Sprite, and that's okay. That's why we got Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke or Pepsi or Orange or High C Fruit Punch or, flavored water. Like, you have something for everybody, because there's an understanding that everybody is different, and that is okay. My concern, and I'm going to digress, guys, because I think you all have already kind of seen what I look at as being the con of ChatGPT. And that's why I warn you all, like, because even if so, let's go back and feed this into what I started the show with, which is how I even got introduced to the concept of chat gpt, and why I initially was getting involved with it, because this is how I'm kind of going to finish up the show. So for those of you who are just coming in, hey to everybody who's listening to me on No Vibe. But when I'm watching this content creator say, hey, all you have to do is just use ChatGPT to generate your content. Give me a 1 minute review on fill in the blank and read it verbatim. So again, because I had never seen Chat GPT, I did it. I went and I spoke to Chat GPT, and they generated. And let me say this, it was a nice review. Now, anybody that knows me knows that it would sound extremely robotic, right? Because that's not how I talk. And I feel like that you can use Chat GPT to give you prompts. I feel that you can use it to get ideas. But like, to me, when I read it, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna just sit here and read this script. I- with the shows that I do, I've done so many different podcasts, y'all. I'm not a scripted person. One of my shows, Inspirational Talk with Toneal, is a show where I have guests. And many times the guests will say, well, will you send me the questions that you're going to ask? And I always say, no, like respectfully, but no. And they're like, well, why? I said, well, two reasons. One, I never script my shows. I don't know what questions I'm going to ask you. That doesn't mean that I have not done my homework on whom the guest is, right? So I know who you are, I know what you do, but I always, which is two, I want the interview to take on a life of its own, right? Like I always will ask you in advance, is there something specific that you do not want to talk about? I will always honor that. So I have interaction with my guests before the show. I find out, a, what is it that you would like for me to not ask at all? Is there anything that you don't want to discuss? I find that out. And then I say, is there anything in particular that you do want to discuss? I find that out. So I know exactly where I'm not going to go, and I know exactly where to go. But all of that in between, no, that's where the magic happens. That's where the naturalness, that's where when you're talking to people, and again, maybe somebody would say you have to be good at what you do and not to be conceited. I know that I am good at what I do when it comes to interviewing, when it comes to talking in general, podcasting, however. This is my wheelhouse. And so to me, when you use a chat GPT, for me, it's for people who this is not their wheelhouse. Because to me, it stifles you, right? Like if the goal is to simply read this script, but I ain't nothing to read no script. Cause that ain't what I do. Like again, I feel like when you read a script, it's taking away your natural charm, your natural charisma, your natural personality. Like, if you guys have ever heard me review anything, I've reviewed movies and books for years. And so, like, there's going to be some interaction and there's going to be some excitement that just naturally occurs when something, because you it's not rehearsed, right? And so there's a naturalness that just comes with being yourself. Now let me say this, for people, because again I do say there is a lane for this, for people who like to pre-record stuff, that is not me. I hate pre-recording things, and I'm gonna tell you why. I hate pre-recording things because I am a perfectionist. It's not a good thing. Trust me, I've been working on this for 40 plus years. But I am a perfectionist. And sometimes being a perfectionist, it gets you in trouble because you can't get out of your own head. So it's like, if I have enough time to sit, record, play back, watch it, I'm going to find something that I did wrong, something that needs to be dissected, take it out, edit it, change it, erase it. And then you do that so much, and you have to keep re recording, redoing it, re. And you either get frustrated, you get tired, like the negative emotions then began to come up. And many times I can't even tell you guys, maybe I should feel bad about it, but I don't. I can't even tell you guys how many videos, like in my earlier years of doing this, how many videos I recorded, spent hours upon days like making these recordings that never saw the light of day. And here's the thing, there probably was nothing wrong with it. To a non perfectionist, there was probably absolutely nothing wrong with those videos. But because I am how I am, I'm going to find a way to pick it apart, right? So, once we start seeing the live feature, the ability to just, hey, what comes up comes out, and let's keep on going. We can't focus on if we made a mistake because everybody's like, you gotta keep on going. So whether my hair was perfect or not, whether the lipstick was right or not, don't matter. Keep on going. If I said a word and stumbled upon it, oh, who got time to stop? Keep on going, right? And so going live helped me to conquer semi conquer my perfectionism, right? Because the fact, and we all know nobody is perfect. We all know that, right? However, when you are giving yourself the opportunity to take the time to perfect the situation, I think that too much time can also become a bad thing. And so, again, this was very transparent, but I'm just being very honest. So, for me, Chat GPT would be for people who want to take the time. So, say if you, I still do not recommend the straight plagiarism, like that would just irritate my soul. But I would understand people who may have a hard time going live, or people who may have a hard time gathering their words. And so you want to read something. And some people even say, maybe it seems to be a bit more professional. But again, I would say it like this: it depends on what look are you going for, right? Like for me, I am just unapologetically who I am. Like I can sit in a room of scholars. I have a master's degree. So I can sit in a scholarly room, but I also can sit in a room with people who may not have gotten their high school diplomas. I can sit in a room full of children. I can sit in a room full of women, men, old, young, black, white, and I know how to speak the language of whatever room that I'm in. So for me, I'm like, when I read this review that Chat GPT generated, it sounded very scholarly. So, like, if you're the type of person, if you're going to sit here and you're going to just read a teleprompter. So, the review for the movie Rob Peace, it is a story of a diligent young man who blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? And did you see how even my voice changed just in trying to project the way because it gives that, like, think about a person, a news anchor who is giving you the news on television versus your girlfriend telling you what happened, or telling you what happened in the conversation, right? Like, and I do understand that Chat GPT, it does generate different tones. You can set what type of conversational tone you would like. If you want a professional tone, if you want a friendly tone, if you want, so you can set that. But again, think about it. These are not your words. So even if it is in a friendly tone, even if it is, in a tone that's just a down to earth type thing, what's the word I'm looking for? Casual. So even if it is a casual tone, it's still not your words. It's still not what you would say. So I would, again, if you're going to use this software, I would say, before just reading and then speaking, read it and then customize it to you so that it sounds believable, right? Like if I give a review, I don't even know if I say, oh, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I don't think I do that. Like for me, I'm either two thumbs up, and that's as formal as I get. Because most of the time, I'm like, oh my goodness, you should definitely watch this. It is definitely worth your 2 or 3 hours of. I don't care if it's 15 minutes, girl. Don't you waste your time. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I think that especially if you have a fan base or a following already, like, people know you and your way of being and your way of speaking. Now, for people, if you guys are new and you don't have any type of fan base, any type of following, and you're looking for a quick way to do something and you've been thinking about it, if you are going to commit to forever using this, then okay, I guess. I still don't like the plagiarism aspect of it, but the unoriginal, lack of creativity version. But that's okay. I mean, to each his own. But just understand that if you start out using Chat GPT and that becomes the tone that you set for your audience, that becomes the expectation that you set, it may be hard to break away from that. So for me, it's just be who you are, right? So again, if you want to do a review, so I may still, so I thank him for what he said and saying, hey, if you want to start a TikTok channel, the best thing to do is make sure that it is a niche you have a specific niche. So don't be on one day talking about your dog, then your cat, then the weather, then cooking, and then what happened at work, because that drives the algorithm crazy. TikTok does not understand what it is you're trying to do. So if you're going to, if you're going to do reviews, do reviews. If you're going to be empowerment. If you're going to, whatever it is that you do that and only that. So that way it's easy to figure out how to categorize what you do, right? So I am all for being strategic. I am all for knowing what it is and having a handle for what it is that you are trying to do. I am all for all of that, but do it within your own self. Know who you are. Bring your flavor to the table so that even if, like I said, I'm still gonna do movie reviews because I watch movies, and there's some movies I want to talk about. I want to talk about Raw Peace. I want to talk about some documentaries I've watched. I want to talk about Meet Me Next Christmas. So, like, like in this holiday time, so normally around holiday time, I start watching even more movies. But I'm gonna go back to doing book reviews. That's going to be something that I put out there. So every week I'll be doing book reviews. I'll do, every day it'll be a different type of review that I do. But best believe that I will not be doing it ChatGPT style. I will definitively be doing it EAE, aka Educate and Empower. I'll be doing it EAE style. Now, do I understand again? And I'll say this, and we're wrapping up. You also have to understand how every platform works, right? So I understand that whereas I'm 40 minutes, over 40 minutes live on Facebook, you're not bringing that to TikTok. And yes, once you have a certain amount of followers on TikTok, you can go live, right? And so you can go live, and I don't think you're limited with your time. However, most people ain't gonna just sit there with you and watch on TikTok, right? The nature of TikTok is to get it quick and scroll. So many people are scrolling, and it's hard. You really have to have a good position and be a strong influencer to get people to interact with your content. That doesn't mean you have to have a million followers. You just have to be strategic in how you put out your content. So the point that I'm making is, in going back to doing my reviews and stuff, I understand that, okay, if I do it, say, under 3 to 5 minutes on TikTok, I can still do that same thing, repurpose it, and come on over to Facebook, and I can go live for 30, 40 minutes and give a review. On Noon Vibe, if I came on here, y'all, if I came on Noon Vibe for 3 minutes, many of you guys wouldn't even get the notification, right? Like, let's be honest. Those of you who are here now, some of you guys, we almost 43 minutes into this live. Some of you all just came in 10, 20 minutes ago, right? So certain platforms, you can't do nothing for 3 to 5 minutes and think that you're gonna get some interaction. You know what I mean? So again, you have to know your platform, whatever platform you're going to use. And the same way how I say with Chat GPT, you got to be willing to customize it. It's the same thing. So again, this is just a little freebie for my entrepreneurs, especially content creating entrepreneurs. So it's not to say that you got to do 10 different types of videos, right? So say if you want to do a video, and again, what I just used, so if I want to do a book review, I'll do something 9 times out of 10, like if I'm recording it, because most time I won't pre-record, but in TikTok time you kind of do, because it's only gonna be like 3 to 5 minutes, right? So you can use that video. So you use those 3 minutes for TikTok. I can use that same 3 minutes that I use for that video on TikTok and then create it as a reel on Facebook or Instagram. Use the reel to promote the fact that I'm actually going to go live, to give the full. So, I give the reel, give a short version, abbreviated version, and say, hey, if you want the full extended version, then join me live at 5. And you see what I'm saying? So you figure out which platform you want to use, and then you learn the metrics behind that platform. You don't use Facebook behavior on TikTok or TikTok behavior on LinkedIn. Like, each social media platform has um, their own behavioral style, if you will, their own interaction, the way that you interact, their own type of standard or expectation. And so, yeah, you do have to do the work to learn how your brand would fit. And no, it is not necessary to be on 50, 11 platforms. In fact, again, just in true transparency form, I, as of the end of this month, I am no longer going to be on X. And it is not, I've seen different people say, I think it has to do with the election or whatever. That's not my reasoning. Like, I happened to see different people saying, hey, I won't be on X, I'm gonna be on Blue Sky. Y'all ain't gonna be on Blue Sky. The reason why I'm shutting down my X account is because I'm not really on it, right? When I first started Twitter, how many years ago, I used to have over 10,000 followers, but then I stopped being on it because I started picking up other platforms that were more my personality, right? Like for me, it was very kind of difficult to put everything that I want to do in 140 characters or less. There were so many limitations, that the way that I perceived it, there were limitations that Twitter had because I am more of a long-winded person, right? And even though now, yeah, you can do 280 characters, or you can even pay for premium, and then you don't have a limited. First of all, baby, I'm not going to pay for premium when there's too many other platforms that I can be on. That is not necessary. But the point is, over the years, I've lost a lot of followers because I was not consistent. I was not consistently present on X. And that's one of the things I tell you guys about how important it is to be consistent, because people begin to count on you. And what you have to understand is, especially in social media, in the world of social media, it's a very oversaturated place to be. And so if you say you're gonna be live at 5, but we don't never see you, it be 3, 4 months, or in some cases 3, 4 weeks, and we ain't seen, we finna find somebody else that we can listen to live at 5. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I'm like, okay, well, I know that 10 times out of 10, I'm not about to change and start being more active on Twitter. So, or I'm sorry, X. So I pretty much just put the post out. Whoever is following me, because I still have a couple thousand followers there now, but I told them, hey, you guys have until November 30th to transition to another platform to follow me. So I will no longer be on Twitter, and this is after having my account for who, at least, what year is it? 24. uh, I don't know. It's been at least a decade, if not longer, that I've been on Twitter, because I was probably on Twitter when it first came out. But again, that's another lesson. You don't stay somewhere. If it's not working, you don't have to stay just because you've always done it or because you've always been there. You go to what's working for you. Because again, file it under wanting to work smarter and not work harder. So hopefully this has helped somebody. And again, to all of my people listening to Noon Vibe, thank you all so much. If somebody wants to take a microphone real quick, ask a question, give a quick comment, feel free to do so while I am wrapping up. Once I wrap up, if nobody is in queue, then we'll go ahead and just call it quits. But I just want to again thank everybody so much. This month of November has really been a roller coaster. It has been a whirlwind, you name it, it has been it. Like from the election, I think that was November 5th, so that's already been more than 2 weeks ago. The election was, and I want to again thank everybody for, if you were in the Cook County area and you voted for me, thank you. I told you guys, whether I won or lost, I already won. And I meant that. Like, I didn't cry till I ain't stopped. I ain't blinked twice, nothing, because I feel like you're always where you're supposed to be, right? Like, if you are positioning yourself, if you're walking in purpose, and to my believers, if you are asking the Lord to order your steps, then wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. So you don't have time to have regrets. I'm a person, I never live with regrets, never live with resentments. If there's something I want to do, I do it. Period. If I can't do it right now, I'm gonna figure out when I can do it, because I'm never gonna be the person saying, oh man, I wish I would have. Anything I've ever wanted to do, I've done it. Whether it generated what some people may have been able to generate or not, that's why I don't compare myself to other people. For me, the experience of doing what I want to do is what makes me feel whole and what makes me feel like, okay, you've done that thing. So I feel accomplished. I don't have to go back and look, but you have to do what works best for you, right? So here it is. We are literally next Thursday. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. But not only is it Thanksgiving, okay, let me just let y'all in on a little piece of happiness for me. I think I shared with most people, I'm about to be a Grammy. My oldest daughter is pregnant, and I'm the only one in the family who knows what the baby is. And so next Thursday, we are having our official gender reveal. And so I have like a really unique way of how we are going to reveal the gender. And so I've really been looking forward to that. And so, like I say, I just want to share with you guys. I always want to try to be as transparent as possible, give you guys what it is I have, try to connect with you, allow you to connect with me, but always understand, and because this is the professional development show, never allow a job to rule your life. I don't care how much of a workaholic you are, unless that is the only thing that you have going for you and that's on purpose, right? Because there are some people who are workaholics, and they're workaholics because that's literally what gives you pleasure. But then there are some people who are workaholics because they're using work to fill voids in their life. So rather than confront the voids, then it's like you're using work to run away. And I don't know why I was led to say that, but I want it to be that if work is what brings you joy, happiness, and you know you're walking in your purpose when you're doing it, go ahead, do what you do. But if you do not feel fulfilled, if you still feel empty, if you still feel lost, then take a moment to stop working some and address the other issues in your life. Because at the end of the day, life is really short and you never want to live with regrets. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's another talk, I guess, for another day. But I believe this is going to be the last day I'm live for Noon Vibe. It might not be. I don't know. Y'all know I just be having random I have random thoughts, and so I just go live on Noon Vibe. It might be 7:32, and they'll hear from me or whatever. But for my visual platforming people, we're educated and empowered. This is the last day I'll be live. I may go live on my personal profile page, Toneal M. Jackson, tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but maybe just to talk about what I am going to be offering for Black Friday. And again, I cannot believe that Black Friday is next Friday. But needless to say, I will not be live next Thursday for Thanksgiving, but I will be live on Tuesday. So I want to just thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you guys so much. And again, if you're not already doing so, please feel free to follow me across the platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and not Twitter. Don't go to Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Noon Vibe. Find and follow me at my name. At Educated and Empowered too. I mean, I got my name as Toneal as well, but that ain't today. Go to Educated and Empowered too. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I hope that I have been able to equip you with the information and inspiration to be your best self. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have been able to get educated and empowered with Toneal. Have a great night.